There is only one you, and that is your superpower. You can't F that up. However, you can get stuck. That's why I created this space called Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons. Unstuck Yourself is about figuring out what has you feeling frustrated, isolated, or depleted of energy so that you're able to unstuck yourself on your journey through life when you don't know how to move forward. Unstuck yourself in your career that no longer excites and challenges you. Unstuck yourself with negative thoughts that seem to be doing cartwheels in your head consistently. I don't have the answers. You do. You always have. I'm providing the time, space, and grace for you to reconnect to that knowing. I'm Crystal Simmons, coach, speaker, and facilitator, and I'm grateful you made it here. Let's begin to unstuck yourself. Hey peeps, it's me, Crystal, your favorite mindset coach, working with peeps who want to move out of a place of feeling overwhelmed and stuck so they experience peace and fulfillment in their lives, whether that's in their career, health, or relationships. And some of our work together includes identifying mindset blocks in order to shift their energy into a more creative and solution-based outcome. And as your host of this weekly podcast, I'm your guide to unstuck. As life keeps lifing, Crystal's AAAs make you aware to what is and isn't working to uncover your ability to create clarity, to take action. As I become aware of all the individuals I meet and introduce to, I realize my ability to take action and highlight these dope peeps to each of you. You see what I just did there? Crystal AAAs saving the day. Y'all got it. All right, so today is a special interview episode with a dynamic and dedicated woman. Meet Antoinette Watkins. She's the founder and CEO of the Diabaddie organization, Inc. At the age of 6, Antoinette was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes on July the 24th, 2006, and has been living with type 1 diabetes for 16 years. As a result of her experiences with type 1 diabetes, she founded Diabaddie to provide the support that she believed children and young adults like herself need while facing the realities of living with diabetes. Her mission is to educate, expand the representation of individuals living with diabetes, promote health, and connect with others, and inspire beauty through diversity. Additionally, she's committed to providing scholarships for children with type 1 diabetes to attend diabetes camp to acquire the knowledge and the resources necessary to manage their disease. Antoinette is currently a clinical dietetics major at Florida International University, a part of the National Student Exchange Program, where she is studying at Virginia State University until 2022. With Antoinette's eclectic background, she graduated from Blake High School with a master's certification in dance and trained under Debbie Allen from the years 2014, 2017, and 2018. Also with Alvin, Ailey, and Alonzo King dance programs during her primary school career until she graduated in 2018. Throughout her journey with type 1 diabetes and her long-lasting love for dance, Antoinette developed an interest in food, nutrition, and kinesiology, which primed her to devote her college career to studying nutrition and dietetics. Without further ado, enjoy this conversation that I so enjoy with Antoinette and learn so much. You will not be disappointed. Hello, hey peeps. So the purpose of the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast is not only to highlight my personal moments and experiences of being stuck, but also to create the space and community for others to share their stories, their voices, their experiences in a multitude of ways to inspire each of you who are listening to know that your stories and your voices and your experiences, they're just as important. Before we dive into the awesomeness that is the lovely Miss Antoinette, I want the peeps to know about little Antoinette and how she paved the way for the Antoinette that sits before me today. So take it away, Antoinette.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you, Crystal, for giving me the opportunity to speak on your podcast. I think everything you're doing is quite amazing. it's like, I just feel so honored to be a part of something where I get to just be transparent and speak to people about who I am as an individual and what I'm doing alongside of who I am freely and without any judgment. So I just really appreciate you opening up that platform for not only me, but for many other individuals. So kudos to you.
Thank you for that.
No problem. So little Antoinette, gosh, so where do we even start? There's so much. I feel like my life is so jam-packed full with so much going on. But 2006, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. You know, at that time, I think it was more my parents' concern than my concern. There, you just kind of frantic, like this, you know, we thought this disease was like only for older people. And what's type 1? I've only heard of type 2. Like they were just kind of flustered because, and not even like scared, just like confused because I think a big issue in the diabetic community, especially for BIPOC communities, for Black and Spanish communities and other indigenous people communities, they don't know about type 1. Like we're just always told type 2 is because you eat bad and do things. And that comes from, you know, systematic racism where they tell us our foods are not good for us and stuff like that. And so the one we're the most aware of is type 2. And so when my parents were told I was type 1, they were like, okay, like, first of all, what is that? Second of all, how? She's 6 years old. Like, got diagnosed with that in 2006. And just so thankfully so, I got to go to a diabetes camp within the next 2 weeks of me being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And when I tell you, I don't know who I would be in this day if it wasn't for those camps. I really don't know if I would have had as much of a positive experience or even as healthy of an experience with type 1 diabetes if it wasn't for going to these camps. I went to a Rotary Camp of Florida, camp for children with type 1 diabetes and youth with type 1 diabetes. I went there at 6. It was a week-long camp, stayed the night in cabins. I learned how to take my shot there, gave myself a shot there. I learned how to count my carbs before every single meal. For those like who don't know what carbs are, so when you eat foods, on the back of the box or even, you know, in the side corners or the flip ups on a bar, it always gives you like the macronutrients for whatever food item it is that you're eating. And so those things beforehand, you probably don't think they're that important until you decide, I guess, you want to be an athlete or diet. For people who are type 1 diabetic, those numbers are so critical to our entire life. I mean, even something as small as 5 carbs can really adjust your blood sugar enough to make you have to take insulin. So I had to learn all that at 6 years old. I'm learning, okay, I got to read how much trans fat's in this. I got to read how many carbs in this. I got to read how much protein is this. And then along with that, I had to do math and figure out for every 5 carbs, I needed to take 1 unit of insulin. And so, for example, like something I was taking 5 units for, I was eating 10 carbs. And so even when I ate like a small snack like gummies, I was like, I got to take a shot for that too. Like at 6 years old, I was really just inhaling all of this information, and I don't think I would have been able to do it or as easily without this camp environment that I went to, where all the kids there were type 1 diabetic. All the staff there were either studying nurses, studying nutritionists, studying endocrinologists, or they were actual specialists and professionals. So it was really a blessing to attend those camps. I went through like a weird time in high school where I was rebellious with my diabetes. I just didn't want to deal with it. Like I was in this mindset. It was just like, I don't deserve this. Like I just woke up one day and was told I had type 1 diabetes. Like I didn't do anything to get this. Like it's just not fair. And I think from like 13 to like 15, which I think a lot of many other diabetics can relate to, where I just went through a process where I was just like, I'm not taking care of this. I'm not looking at my blood sugar. Whatever happens, happens. And I eventually got really, really, really sick. My hemoglobin A1C, which is my average of my blood sugars, was around 14 for about 3 or 4 years. And that's really bad for someone who is type 1 diabetic, because the range that they would prefer for us to be in is between 5 and 7. And so I was like double that for a good 3 years, which is not the healthiest, but it was my choice at the time because I was just so upset. And so by the time I got to college and I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, I'm about to leave my parents. Like, I'm about to go away. Thankfully so, in 2016, before I graduated in 2016, I ended up getting chosen to go on a dance summer intensive in California with Debbie Allen. And I was forced to be away from home for a whole summer. And my mom was like, okay, yeah, you're going to go. Like, you need to go. My doctor was like, I don't think you should send her. Like, her A1C is not good. whatever. And my mom was just like, in my mom's head, she's like, I get that, it's frustrating that her blood sugars are bad and then they're not doing what the doctor would recommend, but I don't want to hold her back from something else she loves because of a disease that, came upon her and not something that she brought upon herself.
Yes.
And so I just really applaud my mom for parenting me like that, because that whole summer at WLN Summer Intensive really changed my life, because I got to the summer intensive and I was like, oh, dang, like my mom's not here, my dad's not here, my doctor's not here. Like, I got to take care of myself, because if I pass out in California, my dad's side of the family is from California, but they were 2 hours away, all the way in Moreno Valley, and I'm in LA. And so I was like, yeah, I gotta get my stuff together, because I'm not trying to have the ambulance come and get me. I don't want to be embarrassed. Don't get me wrong, I love attention, but not that kind of attention. I don't need the ambulance coming to get me from this place.
I got my act together. I came back from the camp. I was testing my blood sugars every morning. I was around a group of kids who were asking me questions about my diabetes. And normally I would hate when someone would ask me questions about my diabetes, but for some reason it was like, because I had love for dance and like my friends that I made at the camp, I was open to answering their questions. And just at that summer intensive, telling people I had diabetes for a once in a lifetime just didn't bother me. Like almost like the same experience that I had gotten when I went to the camps, where even at camp, I was like comfortable telling people about diabetes because everybody there has diabetes, or they know everybody has diabetes. So it's like no reason to hide it. But I got to the summer intensive and ended up having to have a roommate, like a small college life. And my roommate knew I had diabetes and she would ask questions. And so I just became like comfortable with it because I saw that I had support from the dance community at WLN Summer Intensive. And ever since then, my A1C went down to like a 9 in 2017, which was like right after the camp. And ever since then, it's gone down. My A1C is around a 7 now. When I got to college, I was still dancing. I had gotten a scholarship to go to Virginia Commonwealth University. And I was there in their dance program for the first year. And don't get me wrong, I still love dance and I love dance, but I was just dancing and I'm just like, I'm waking up every day from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. I'm getting out of rehearsal at 10 o'clock at night. I'm managing my diabetes well. I'm living on my own, but I was just like, something's just bothering me. Like, I feel like I'm not fulfilling my purpose. Like, it's just, I know I love to dance, but the love is just not there like it used to be. Like, where am I missing something? And this was right around the turning point of when diabetes started becoming more vocally spoken about on social media. And so I ended up seeing some girl this was before TikTok was TikTok. I think it was Triller, something like that.
I'm still not on TikTok.
And I saw someone do like a cute little music video and they like changed their site. And I was like, I really like want to get into something like that. And I started looking into just doing more research for diabetes. But I was like, if I'm going to do diabetes, I want to do it my way. Like, how can I make diabetes popular? Like, how can I make it known? How can I make it more susceptible to all communities versus just the prominent Caucasian community that they market when they show type 1 diabetes? And from that point, I ended up meeting other people on social media that were Black that had type 1 diabetes. And mind you, I had grown up since going to the camps. I went to the camps, and the whole time I was at the camps, I was probably the only Black child that was there. If I wasn't the only Black child, I was the only Black girl. It was like another Black boy at the camps. And so as I got older, I started seeing more Black people. And I was like, maybe it's because we don't know that each other exist. And so I was like,
yes.
Okay, so I know how Black people are. Like, we love trendy stuff. We love a good trend. Like, we make a lot of the trends. So I'm like, okay, let me figure out a way to make diabetes trendy. And so this is the time, I think around 2018 was like the time when the word baddie was just popping. Like, it was like, guys was like, I want a baddie. Girls was like, I'm a baddie. I want to be a baddie. And like, even me, I was like, yeah, I'm a baddie. Like, I look cute. I look good. And so I was with my friends this one weekend. I was like, we were getting ready to go somewhere, and I had put my sight on my arm on the outside for the first time. And we had dinner, didn't have any conversations about diabetes or whatever. It just came in my head. I was like, what if I call myself like a diabetic? Like, I don't want to be a regular baddie. Like, I just want to be like a diabaddie. And I was like, how did I come up with this word? Like, it was just like diabaddie. Like, and I just like said it to one of my friends. I was like, do you think diabaddie sounds good? And they're like a diabetic baddie? Is that what it means? And I was like, yeah, like diabaddie. Like, I'm a diabetic baddie. Like, that's what I mean.
Yes.
And they were like, Yeah, that's cool. Like she was like, I would call you like that. That's like, that's fire. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that.
You have given me and everybody listening so much goodness, Antoinette. Like, all right. So I know people are listening like, wait, the beginning you started, you were 6 years old when you were diagnosed. You were fortunate enough to go to this camp that taught you so much, not even the technical side, but you sticking yourself, you checking your numbers, you reading the cards. How many people who are listening right now are like, I don't even do that now. And what she's saying feels like overload. I respect you so much because kids are so resilient and like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay, got it. And you were able to come back and share the information with your family, but also that's up leveling you to say, look what I just did. I took all this new information. I was able to actually share and reiterate whatever it was that I obtained and absorbed and share with the people who love me, who want to take care of me. And you speaking up and saying, this is what I learned. This is how I do it. This is what makes me healthier and better. And then them listening. And I know it wasn't just easy if you just having one conversation, your parents like, yep, got it. It was constant. So kudos to you. I'm really excited about that. But then there's so much goodness in the middle of that, and we'll dig into. But towards the end, when you mentioned that you went to this camp for the first time, and yes, you didn't want to be diagnosed with this. Your family's like, what the F? But you're amongst your people. And not by just a label like, I'm a diabetic, but that you were a Black young girl. So even though they didn't look like you, they're still your people. It was that one thing that connected you. And that built your confidence, your ability to move into places and overcome that stigma of having it, but then go to another place. Even though we all get to a point where we're just tired. And I could see why someone who is so well educated and has taken on the weight of the world as a 6-year-old, just be like, I don't want to hold that anymore. So you had your moment where your health maybe declined a little bit. Yeah, that's completely normal. But you recognize, being the smart and intelligent woman you were, hey, I'm going to be by myself. Like, I don't know if I should keep doing this. And recognizing what could be at stake, but then to tell a new roommate, not really among your community, you don't have that safety net of, we have something in common. That one thing, it was, well, we do have something in common. We're going to share this space. And you opening up. So Antoinette, thank you for doing that, because now we get to talk about what you have created in wearing that shit as a badge. This is a part of me, but it's not me. It's not who I am. And I'm really smart with this, and I'm about to educate you, because that is where the power is. When we don't speak up and say what it is that we need, we're taking all of that power and giving it to someone else. Kudos to you for recognizing that, sharing that, being vulnerable and authentic and honest, to then build a new community of people that F with you. That's dope. That is dope.
Yes. So I'm so sorry. I did not tell the transition, because I definitely
no, you're good.
Should have slowed down. That's why I was like, it's so much. And so once I get started with the story, I just get onto a ramble, because it is such an extensive story.
Ramble on.
But yeah, so I, had went to the camps growing up. I was the only Black kid there, most of the time. Even the counselors, I didn't see very many Black counselors there, but it didn't really bother me that much until, I got older. And like I said, I had went through this revelation with my life where I'm like I'm a diabetic. I've really got to start claiming this. And at first I was just claiming it as my own thing. I had changed my bio. My bio was just a baddie with a broken pancreas, because diabetics have broken pancreases. And that's still in my bio to this day, because I just feel like that's my star sentence. It's my superstar sentence. And so I wanted to explain what a diabetic was. And so I would just use little diabetic hashtags and in my Instagram posts. This is before Instagram really became a huge marketing tool and resume networking tool like it is now.
Yeah.
And so I was just doing cute little hashtags, hashtag Throwback Thursday, hashtag Diabaddie, simple stuff. And then I ended up volunteering at one of the camp in 2019. And I was talking to some of the little girls there. I was a counselor for the hair cabin. That was my first cabin. That's what they were called, the hair cabin. Because all the cabins were different names. It was like Jaguar cabin, hair cabin, ibis, all these different cabin names. And so I was in the hair cabin, which is usually the youngest girls. I was just like in there having conversations with them and talking with them. And they're just telling me how they like asking them what they want to be when they grow up. And this one girl was like, yeah, I want to be a YouTuber because I don't really see any diabetic YouTubers. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but it's really something I want to do. And I was like, well, why wouldn't you be able to be a YouTuber just because you're diabetic? And she's like, well, I don't know if people are going to like know what I'm talking about. Like, because like, what if my sensor goes off or like I have to wear my pump on YouTube? Like, I don't know if that's going to be okay. And I was like, it's absolutely okay. Like, what do you mean you don't know if that's going to be okay? And so then I kind of grouped everyone together in my cabin and some other girls in the other cabin when we were at one of these girls' seminars. So some of the girls were at the camp. They were talking about how they don't like when people ask questions or people ask weird questions or people stare and they'd rather them ask a question instead of staring at their pump sites or their Dexcom sites. And so I really just pulled everyone together and I was like, it like really breaks my heart to know that with the beauty of how the media has grown so much from when I was y'all's age to you all being who you are now, that you would just not include yourself in the amazing turnover of how social media is building. I really want you all to know that you have a spot in every place that you want to have a spot at. And you being diabetic makes you even more qualified. I mean, it's like, you're able to do all these things. You count your carbs, you test your blood sugar, you give yourself insulin every day, and then you do what everybody else is doing. It's like for you to do it, you're overqualified. I mean, you're putting together a schedule for your daily life to keep yourself breathing and living, and then you got to do what everybody else does to keep up with a career or, be a movie star, a singer, or a lawyer. Somebody simple, like, not simple, but somebody that just has a career. Like, even if it's not social media, it still requires extensive work on both parts. And so I was just telling the girls, and I was like, never disassociate yourself from a space that you want to be in because you're disabled or because you have a disability that affects your ability at the same level as everyone else, because it doesn't. Like, it to be disabled, and I think a lot of people say like the word disabled is bad, but it's really not. I think we've been trained to think that the word disabled is bad because people keep associating it with a disadvantage, but I have a disability. Like, I have something that makes me not as able as you. So for me, it's like, if I'm disabled and I'm doing something as good as you, or if not better, I'm a threat.
Come on, yes.
Because I'm doing really good and I have a disability, something that doesn't make me as able as you are. So I own the word disability to a high extent because I am disabled. I have a disability. And that's how Diabetic came about. And that's how we ended up going in with giving scholarships to these camps so that these young girls and young boys can go to these camps, meet other people with the same disease as them, talk to them, learn how to self-manage their disease and make friends so that the diabetic community can expand so much. I mean, because my mom was just telling me the other day, like, social media is just so great for you all because you can meet someone and speak to them every single day versus back when, she was in high school, you couldn't do that. Like, you see them, you gotta wait till you see them next summer.
Yes.
Now you can see somebody during the summer and talk to them during the school year. So the diabetic community can be so large, include every race and everyone who is actually dealing with the disease, if we make sure everybody who is dealing with the disease and everyone who is growing up with the disease has the opportunity to attend these camps. So that's why Diabaddie just focuses so much on getting the kids to the camps so that they have that advantage and they have that guidance when growing up with their disease.
Man, like, you are so encouraging and so eager to, again, pave the way for other people and let them know as well. We doing this. If you have an idea, put yourself in that creation. So thank you, Antoinette, for sharing that, because you mentioned that because we're in this world of social media, and I know even for myself, I have moments of feeling alone and feeling like, oh, it's only me that's going through that. When we have such a small step in between that could just break down those walls or those thoughts. Like your mom said, like, we have an advantage, but sometimes our brain or our thoughts will keep us stuck from utilizing those advantages. Hopefully with this story, people understand the power that lies within all of us. So Antoinette, with you being the CEO and the founder of the Diabaddie organization, What was your main focus for creating this beautiful space and company?
My main focus for creating Diabaddie originally was to send the kids to camp to make sure that they got that training and the guidance with managing their disease, and then also just like getting the full fun experience of making friends at the camp. Like, I think that's the best part, like making all these friends and s'mores and stuff with other kids who have the same disease as you. And so that was my original motive with Diabaddie, which was to just raise money for scholarships, create a scholarship, and send as many kids to camp as possible. But even with me volunteering as late as 2019, I realized as an alumni camper and now in a counselor's position that there's so much more to these camps than I know as just a camper that's attending. Like, the counselors that were there, now that I'm, 19 years old and I'm in college, I'm like, oh, these are students here that are volunteering or getting their clinical hours, because most students that are in college, if you want to be a nutritionist, you want to be a doctor of any sort, any pre-medical field, you have to get clinical research hours in order to graduate and or in order to apply for medical school, because it just looks great on your resume. It's great to have that hands-on experience. Yeah. And so there are people that come to the camp, and these students are working with these kids day and night, for 72 hours on a weekend camp. Wow. However long a week is in hours, 24 hours times 7 in a week camp. They're with these kids getting large bulks of clinical hours at the camps, but not only are they like knocking out their clinical hours in 1 week, but they're there meeting with doctors every morning with the camps. I was waking up, I was doing charting with the doctors, changing the kids' insulins based off of what they're eating for the day, based off how many activities we're having, based off of the type of insulin the child was on. I mean, it was like I was like a nurse. Like, I wasn't even a qualified nurse, but I was still there learning next to another professional healthcare worker or doctor or psychologist who would go over things with me to make sure that the child who was attending this camp was taken care of to the best of their ability. And so I was like, this is so amazing that students are coming to these camps and getting these advantages of working at these camps before they go into the medical field. I mean, what better experience than hands-on experience? You can only get so much out of a book. Yes. And if you're like me, I have to read the same page about 3-4 times before I understand what it actually says. So for me to go to a camp and get to count carbs with a child and learn the stuff that comes from the textbook about macronutrients and insulin and lipids and protein and just all these different things that you need in order to advance your understanding of biology and microbiology and nutrition, there's no other better experience than to be working at these camps with these children. And not only do you get to work at the camps with the children and benefit yourself, but you're benefiting the kids. Yes. Because you're their future doctors, you're their future nutritionist, you're their future psychologist. Like, I was like, there's no way that a lot of other universities didn't see this, because now I'm realizing from a camper's point of view to a counselor's point of view, I'm like, okay, so I was the only Black kid there as a camper. Now I'm the only Black counselor here. So it's like, not only are we missing kids from the Black community, yes, we're missing students from Black universities at these camps getting clinical hours. I'm like, there's a huge gap here. And you know what? Since these students become doctors in the future, which the doctors are responsible for telling the patients about the camps, I'm like, that's why they don't know, because these, yes, Black doctors don't know this opportunity exists. So who can guide them to the camps? Who can guide the Black and Spanish children who go to a Black doctor that doesn't know about these camps? They can't expect to see them at the camps because the doctors don't know. The psychologists don't know. The nutritionists, they don't know. Yes. So I'm like, if I can figure out a way with Diabaddie now to tackle not only scholarships to fix the financial issue of, BIPOC children attending the camps, but if I can figure out, the research aspect and tackle that sense of making sure that the BIPOC and students at historically Spanish institutes and students at historically Black universities are aware that these clinical hour opportunities are available, then I can kill this problem from both ends. Yes. So I need it from both sides. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to decide as a student, and I'm now a student at FIU. I got blessed with the opportunity to do an exchange, and, they let us choose from a plethora of universities. And I was like, okay, So if I want to kill this issue from both sides, I got to go to an HBCU. I got to do my exchange at an HBCU because I have to have an experience as a student who's studying nutrition, because I'm studying nutrition. I got to get an experience as a student in the pre-med field and in the nutrition field for dietetics and stuff like that. I got to get that experience as a historically Black university student before I can try to tackle it from both sides, because I got to see where they're not getting the information at. Yes. I got to figure out why they don't know. And so I got the opportunity to do my exchange at Virginia State University, and was, just blessed to be with them this past semester, where I met and ended up working very closely with the dean of the university for nutrition and dietetics, which is Dr. Lynch, and Dr. Perry Rogers, and the business major of the university. And, I just was telling them my idea, and they were like, yeah, this is great. We didn't know about this, but we need it. And I was like, okay, so I'm on it. Like, the whole time I'm here, that's my mission while I'm at Virginia State, is to make sure before I leave in August 2022 that if not as many Black universities in the DMV as possible, that at least Virginia State students are aware of this opportunity. I've been just doing my best connecting with students at Virginia State, still connecting with students at Virginia Commonwealth, because that's a very well-diverse college community. I know a lot of the Black students in the community over there. And I actually ended up recently working with a student who goes to Howard. She's actually type 1 diabetic herself. She's a business major, and she's type 1 diabetic. I met her at a college party. That's crazy. Nice. Like, I went masked up. I was at a big college cookout because the Qs were having a cookout over the summer, and I met her there. Somebody was tapping me at a party, and I'm from Florida, so I'm like in the DMV. I'm like, I'm at this cookout, and I only came with these people that I know here because I don't know anybody else here. So when she came and tapped me, I was like, what the heck? Like, somebody's tapping me like I'm scared. And my friend was like, turn around, somebody's trying to speak to you. And I was like, okay. So I turned and I look at this girl and I'm like, okay, I don't know what she's about to say to me because I don't know her. And she's like, hey, I just want to say, I really love that you wear your site visible to other people and it doesn't bother you. And I'm like, my site? And then I was like, oh, I'm diabetic. Like, she's probably talking about my Dexcom site. Like, so I look at her and I'm like, are you type 1 diabetic? And she's like, yeah, I actually hide my site on my thigh because I don't want anyone to know I'm diabetic yet, because I haven't really seen any other Black diabetics around me. So like when I saw you here in the middle of this cookout, I was like, I just gotta talk to her. I gotta touch her. I gotta see how she is. And I was like, girl, yeah. And I was like, it's so funny that you like wanted to talk to me just because I'm another Black diabetic, because I have a whole organization for this. Like, so she was like, no way. And I gave her my Instagram, and we just started laughing and talking on Instagram from there. And so it's like, now I have a friend at Howard who has type 1 diabetes, and I've been connected and working with her, and ended up just going to lunch with her like about a month or two ago before break. And, we just sat down and talked, and she was like, yeah, and I've also been following this Instagram influencer who's type 1 diabetic, and her name is Kiva. She's actually called Diamond on Instagram now. And she's just so great. Like, she's so cute. She's a model. She's really breaking barriers with the modeling for type 1 diabetes. And so she was like, yeah, I follow Kiva, and I just love everything she does. And I was like, you know what? I got Kiva's number. You want to talk to her?
Oh,
and
no.
Kiva. And I let Kiva talk to her because what a lot of people don't understand is that there's been a lot of type 1 diabetics that have been getting diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in college now. And so their experience with diabetes is completely different than mine because they have understanding of what life was before they were even diabetic. And so there was just some conversations I knew I couldn't have with my friend, that this new friend I made with type 1 diabetes, because I was diagnosed at 6. All I know was diabetes, I went to the camps. I got to learn from the camps. Like, she's coming in diagnosed at 20 years old, and she's like, what the heck am I doing? Like, I got to teach myself for real. Like, I'm not just going to go with the routine and build this into my life. I have to shove this into my life now. It's do or die. And so I was like, yeah, you need to talk to Kiva, because Kiva was diagnosed in college as well. She just was talking to Kiva on the phone, and she just broke down crying, like on the phone with Kiva. And I was like, you know what? I just thank God for putting me in the position to be a connector and to want to just be so passionate about connecting people, because there's nothing else that probably would have made her feel any better than being able to talk to Kiva, because I could tell, because I couldn't hear the conversation her and Kiva were having because I let them have their privacy, but I could just tell Kiva was saying some stuff to her that she just like needed to hear as another diabetic who's Black at a college university, who's just starting a brand new life with this disease. it was just some stuff I couldn't relate to because that was not my experience.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, if I can do this on my own and I'm just me, why don't I just open the door for other people to be able to do this by connecting the Black universities and being the liaison between the Black universities and diabetes camps to make sure that these Black pre-medical students are getting in these camps and working with these kids. And when they do that, we can now ensure that these Black kids are going to the camps. If the pre-med students aren't doctors yet, they either know a Black doctor or they know somebody else, who has type 1 diabetes, which advances the chances of the Black kids going to the camps. I mean, because you can get on social media and say, hey, the camps are going on. We want more, more Black children or more Spanish children to attend the camps. Please come. But, it's different than somebody personally saying something to someone and pulling them in and telling them, hey, this is good for you. Go.
You're explaining connection, true connection of It's not transactional. Shout out to you for being the leader that you are, Antoinette, because what you said is so important. I hope people caught it that yes, you have a very extensive understanding of growing, living, having diabetes, but you recognize like, oh, that's not my strength for this young lady. Let me connect her to someone who has a little bit more knowledge of what she's actually feeling and going through. That is a leader. That is a business owner. That is an intuitive person that recognizes that I'm very powerful, but I also know my power lies in having branches and networks of other people. So then they can be uplifted. So then they can actually encourage other people to do the same. Like that young lady you met and connected her with Kiva. Kiva's like, and I don't want to speak for her, but I would hope, or I feel like she would say, wow, Antoinette met her and thought of me to be the one to share my experience with this young lady. Oh, that's really dope and so powerful. And I hope you really understand how dope you are, Antoinette, for doing that. And being I know it sounds cheesy, but you are like the superhero of diabetes and recognizing that I'm not going to cry and recognizing that your disability, you're not taking that word to shame you, to isolate you, to lessen who you are. You took that shit and highlighted it and elevated and expanded it. I know people like to look at the highlight reel, as they say, for Instagram. Everybody's life is amazing. Can you tell us if you feel any moments of stuckness? And if you do, how do you move from that?
Ooh, I have two huge moments of stuckness. And I actually, after this last period of stuckness, I really want to say, I think the period of stuckness is the best part to be in. Like,
come on
I
now.
feel like that's when you realize, because once you get out of being stuck, it's like, dang, I really got myself out of that. Like,
You're like
I got myself out of that. Yeah. You become a whole new individual with a whole new understanding of whatever it is you went through. So there was a period in my life around, 2017-ish. I had just went through a period of time where I had lost a lot of my friends and lost just like a lot of people that were close to me. And I didn't really see it before, but it was like kind of like God was like removing people from my life so that I could go to the next period of my life that I needed to be in. And so during this time, I was just beating myself up because I was just like, maybe I'm weird. Maybe I'm just not a good friend. Maybe I don't belong here. And so I was just like in this very dark place where not only was I not accepting who I am as a diabetic, but I just wasn't accepting myself. I wasn't accepting me. Like, I was like, maybe I need to tone my personality down too much. Maybe I need to change how I talk to people. Maybe I need to change how I look, change all this stuff about me. And it went on for like a good 4 or 5 months where I just wasn't myself. And I just had like, was just going through like this tear down period where I was just like, I don't want to be seen. I don't really want to talk to anybody like that. I mean, I spent most of my time with my family during that time. I wasn't really hanging out with friends. So during that time, it was like I had gotten to a point, it was like that probably to like the 4th month of me just being in like this depressive stage. And I don't know what it was. I went to church with my parents one day. And the pastor was just talking about how you like really need to understand the power in your words and what you say. The power of the tongue. And I was just like, maybe it's because I keep doubting myself and I keep speaking these things over my life. And maybe that's why I'm not getting out of this weird feeling that I have, and I'm not understanding my worth because I keep saying, oh, I don't deserve this. I'm not worth it. Or maybe I do need to change this. Maybe this is weird. Maybe this is not okay. Instead of saying, this is who I am. If there's an issue, maybe I can work on fixing it, or I can choose to develop my character in a way that if this part of me is not the best version, I can develop it into a better version. And so I just started just every day I would just wake up and I'd be like, okay, today I'm going to achieve this and I'm going to do it.
Yes.
And I started, and then it just became like a ripple effect. Like I was like, okay, well, I achieved that yesterday. Like, wow, like I really actually did it. And then I was like, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to try this. Like today I'm just going to say I'm beautiful, like in the mirror. And then I really just felt more confident that day. Like it was just like speaking it over my life constantly and more and more and more. I mean, especially with the beautiful one. Like if you ask my friends, I think I really woke up and started telling myself I was pretty and beautiful every day. And to now it's the point where I'm just like, they're like, are you really taking another selfie again? Like you're going to take another selfie. And I'm like, well, I just feel like it looks so great. And I really enjoy that part of me now because I am literally like utterly just love how I look. And I did not feel like this before. And so it's just like so amazing to get to that point of going through body dysmorphia during that time, because that's really what I was struggling with. As a diabetic, I was struggling with body dysmorphia from a sense that I didn't want people to see my scars from my sites, and I didn't want them to see my Dexcom site. But then I was also going through body dysmorphia because with social media also being on the rise, we just saw a lot of different body types, and it was a more marketed body type than other types, and I didn't really have that body type. And so I had just was still trying to get myself out of that dark spot of not working out for the simple fact that I want my body to look the same way, but to work out because I enjoy it. And so like that came with me saying, okay, I'm going to work out today because I feel like I want to work out. Like I want to feel good after a workout, like not because, oh, I need to make sure my arms are slimmer or my stomach is smaller or my thighs and legs are bigger. Like I'm going to go to the gym today because I want to go. And then it also took me to have the strength to be like, I don't feel like going to the gym today. And I'm not going. Because I don't have to go. Like I don't need to go just to salvage how I look. You know, and so I just thank the Lord, like, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, hallelujah, that I got out of that space.
First of all, thank you for highlighting that being stuck, there is a gift in that. Because on the other side, should you decide, okay, I don't want to be here anymore. Like you had that image and that thought at church, maybe it's because I am speaking what I don't want over and over and over and over and over again. What if I change it? The funny thing is, Antoinette, because we've been in quarantine and because I've been working from home for so long, I just said this on a recent podcast where I started telling myself for 2022, I want to be more organized and I want to be very intentional about each moment I have. Not that, oh, it's a new year. Now I have new things that I want to accomplish. Every moment is new. Every breath we take is new. It is a chance to make a different outcome or create a different outcome. So yesterday I told myself, I'm going to wake up at this time and I'm going to work out. I'm going to journal. I'm going to meditate. And I should be able to do all of that within this hour and then be able to chill, prepare for this interview, and then get on and be refreshed. I tell you not, Antoinette. Literally, I'm looking at my clock. I'm like, oh, snap. I'm like 2 minutes early for when I'm supposed to shower when I said I would. Oh my gosh. I'm like right on time for when I said I wanted to prepare. And I literally had the thought in my head that you just said, like, what if I just spoke it and said, this is what I'm doing? And I was like, this is crazy. Like it sounds so small, but on the other side, I'm like, it doesn't matter what happened before. I see what can be possible and I'm going to keep moving in that direction. So thanks for sharing that stuck moment. You said you had another moment as well. Did you want to share?
Yeah, well,
okay.
That moment, it's just a ripple effect because that moment started in 2017 where I was going through the body dysmorphia and dealing with the losing of friends. And then I thought it was okay, you know, because sometimes we get in moods where we're like, okay, like I feel a little better now. I'm good. Like I've healed. But I think
That
what
part.
I really just have realized is healing is not linear, and it's not just a one and done thing. Like, it takes time. You got to
Yes.
get triggered again and see your new response. And so over the pandemic, I had went through the same thing again.
Yes.
And this time I was realizing that my insecurities and my things that I was dealing with were affecting my relationships with people. I mean, just something as simple as I was coming back and realizing I was taking pictures, and I just wouldn't like any of my pictures. And my best friend was telling me, she was like, you just love to take pictures all the time. So why is it that when we take your pictures, you're like, oh, I look too big, or, oh, I don't want my site showing in this. Like, I want it to show, but I want it to show in a certain way, because if it shows this way, it's going to look weird. Like, she was like, how can you say you love yourself one day, and then, this is when you're facilitating, but when somebody else is trying to facilitate their love for you and take pictures of you and do stuff for you, it's not good enough. Like, that means you don't love yourself fully. And I just looked at her and I got mad at her at first, because I'm like, she don't know what she's talking about. Like, I love me, like, blah, blah, like, I love me. And I just really had to sit down and just think about it. And I had went through another period where I was telling you I was working out just to work out and make sure my body's right. I was like, okay, well, I had already went through a process where I was going to work out because I loved it. And then I rippled back into the effect of working out again just to make sure my body looked the right way. And I was up at like, I mean, to a normal person, it would look like I was just the most extreme organized individual ever. I was up at 6 a.m. at the gym. At 9 o'clock, I was at work. I'd get off of work at 3. I was doing yoga, and then I was at my next job. And so like, I just looked so organized, but I wasn't happy. Like, I was draining myself. September 2020 all the way till January of 2021. And then I actually ended up getting like injured, and I was like, I'm gonna keep going. I was just like, I'm gonna just keep working out, because I gotta work out. Like, I gotta make sure everything looks a certain way. Like, I gotta make sure I go to work. I can't take any breaks. Like, I gotta be this most successful woman. I have this whole organization now. Like, these people have this image of me. I gotta keep up with it. And I was watching VU Church, which is a church in Miami, and Pastor Richard was saying in one of the messages, he was like, if you don't stop, God's going to stop you.
Come on.
Himself.
Absolutely.
If you don't take a break or take some time to just relax and sit down and breathe and just express gratitude for yourself and for your life that God's blessed you with, God's going to force you to do it. Absolutely. So, and I was like, man, like, that's not going to be me. Like, whatever, like, I'm not even doing that much or whatever. And lo and behold, April of 2021, I blew both my knees out.
Wow.
So like, both of my knees, I couldn't walk for like a couple days. I didn't tear an ACL or anything crazy, but my knees were just extremely swollen. And as a type 1 diabetic, swelling of any source is really serious, because it can lead to more severe complications. And so I was like, still trying to go to work with swollen legs on crutches and stuff, just doing the most. Like, I don't know why I was doing all that. And I just talked with my god sisters, who also live in DC, and they were just like, maybe you just need to sit down for a second. Like, you just need to sit down. So how about you just try that? Like, just sit down. Like, you think you're always rushing your life and thinking that you're behind, or that you have to fit this certain image. And in the process of you keeping up with all these great things, you forget about taking care of yourself. And I was like, that whole summer, I didn't work out. I didn't work out not one time. I just started working out again last month, y'all.
Yes.
Not real. I really just started working out again last month. And even now I go when I want to go, but I stopped working out. And during that whole time of me not working out, I was looking at my body, and I'm like, man, my body really actually looks good.
Come on.
Like, I was like, this, like, I'm not even working out, and this, I look great. And I was getting compliments. Like, I'm like, you sure? Because I worked out in like 2 months. Are you sure I look good?
Wow.
And it just, I needed that long period of time of having something taken away from me for me to truly understand its value. One, because I do like to work out. I like, aside from it making my body look better and healthier, I also like how it makes me feel, releases good endorphins. But I had to get it taken away to see maybe like it was crutching me and holding me back from loving another part of myself and enjoying good endorphins of just looking at myself in the mirror and saying, this is the body God blessed me with. I can walk with my legs. I can use my arms. I have a belly I can put food in, a beautiful face, hair on my head. Like, maybe I should just take more advantage of that. And so that, I think, like I said, healing ain't linear now, but I think I'm praying to God that was my final one, because I really don't want to be down bad like that again. I mean, I'm not against God humbling me, because we all have room to be humbled in many places.
You actually touched on something very powerful. The two people, shout out to them, and probably even more people around you treating you with love and checking you pretty much. Shout out to the best friend and shout out to your sister. Like, that is dope. And life is not about black and white, all or none. And I want to remind everyone, the gray zone is the best zone to be in. And you recognizing that I need to go to work out, I need to do this. And so many of us, it might not be working out, but it's like, I have to do everything for my family. My spouse really doesn't know how to do it the way it should be done. My kids can't do it the way that I want it to be done. My friends can't help me the way I need to be helped. My family, my boss, my coworkers, they can't do what I do. I do it the best. And yes, we all get humbled, whether that's an illness, whether you getting released from your job, divorce, separation. That will sit your A down and give you that moment of, wow, okay, so that happened and I could not control it. We think if I just do it, I can control it. You can't control nothing but yourself. And if you're not aware of who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, how long you've been doing it, if it excites you, like you mentioned, you were a dancer and you love dancing, but that passion kind of went away. As we are human, we get to change, we get to evolve. And then something else piques our interest. So to those who are listening, you may not have a story like Antoinette's, but I bet you have experiences of being very humbled. And I want you to sit with those moments and realize what you learned from it. Like we said, coming out of it, being stuck, but then on the other end, realizing however you were able to process that. So I want people to be able to recognize that they don't have to be alone. But even if you don't have diabetes, if you know someone who knows someone who knows someone, share this episode with them. Antoinette, I want you to share, how do you want people to reach out to you? How do you want people to connect with you so you can do what you do best?
There's a few ways that people can connect with us. The most simple ways are our Instagram and our website, which is www.diabaddie.org, like literally Diabaddie organization, but it's www.diabaddie.org. And our Instagram is Diabaddie.org, so DIABADDIEORG. And so is our Facebook, and so is our Twitter. So it's a pretty easy flow line where you can find us on all of those social media contacts. And then if for anyone that's listening, there is a big event going on Martin Luther King weekend. It's called Faces. It's a huge pop-up shop that's just growing. It's being developed by someone I know who I was connected through my god sister who goes to Howard University, who is actually a grad student there. Kudos to her. Woo woo. We love Adrena.
Yay!
She connected me with awesome pop-up shop called Faces. It's going to be on the 15th from 2 to 6 p.m. She's going to have plenty of other vendors there. I will give Crystal all the connects and detailed information so that she can get that information to you all. Hopefully we can maybe see Crystal there, because I'm actually in the process of finishing some stuff with her so that I can send Crystal over some stuff. Yeah, that pop-up shop is going to be really great. It's going to be her first one. And her whole purpose and understanding with that is that she wants other people who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to find their purpose, who want to find their passion, to speak with other entrepreneurs and understand how to become the face of what they're passionate for and what they stand for. And I just think that's so awesome, and love that that's why she wanted to build this whole thing. And hopefully it can expand to go to different areas like California or Miami, because she's from California and I got to go back to Miami. So I definitely would love to see the pop-up shop in more than just the DMV, but that will be this upcoming weekend, or on the January 15th, Martin Luther King weekend. That pop-up shop is available, and I will be there speaking and telling everybody about diabetes and how they can get to these camps and how they can benefit a child with an experience at this camp. And if they're not benefiting a child with an experience at this camp, they can benefit a student by letting a student know that the camps are available for them to get clinical research hours there. So
this is so good. And I'm really working hard so that we can actually get that information out before the event on January the 15th. So thank you for sharing that. And I do want to come up and I'll get more information from you, but this is so good. And we're going to speak light into the fact that yes, this may be the first one, the first pop-up, but there will be many more because you're doing what you do best and you're sharing that story. You're sharing that opportunity to people who may not have even heard of it. So thank you for doing that. That's a great note for us to end on. I do feel like we could keep talking, but I'm so excited to have the listeners be able to experience all that you have to offer and just your energy, your knowledge, your patience, and also your accepting of others. You're very welcoming and warm. And thank you for being that so that people can reach out to you and they can connect with you. Antoinette, do you want to leave us with anything before we sign off?
No, I definitely just want to say thank you for letting me share my story. I know I could share so many stories. I just feel like we have 365 days in a year and then so many years to go with the life that we're blessed with. So definitely have many stories, but I'm so glad that you got, allowed me to have the space to just share a little bit of mine and connect with you in many ways of how my life experiences are and use them as teaching tools to help other people in their lives. Like I said, like the whole embodiment of your podcast is truthfully amazing. And to give these people these resources just from relatable stories is genius. So thank you for allowing me to be in this space with you.
You're so giving and so sweet. And I receive that message. I really do. And thank you so, so much. And thank you, Antoinette, for taking the time to speak with us and share. And I can't wait for everybody to listen. So
yes, thank you. Bye.
Here is something new. With all of my Unstuck Yourself guests, I'm asking them to write their own Unstuck Yourself affirmations. So here are Antoinette's Unstuck affirmations. Enjoy.
To be unstuck to me is to be released from the idea that you cannot prevail. You will succeed if you free your mind of the boundaries your insecurities and comparison may develop. I stay unstuck by telling myself that good things come to those who wait and persevere. I am unstuck from feeling underserving of opportunities and accomplishments that are awarded to me. I continue to unstuck myself by respecting my time, feelings, and opinion.
Come on, peeps. What did I tell you all? Antoinette did not disappoint, and it is my deepest desire that each of you took something away from her experience and energy to look at life a little different than you did before you press play. Be sure to connect with Antoinette on all of the social media links located in the description of this episode. Her company name is the Diabaddie organization, and that is spelled Diabaddie. It's so cute. And do not forget to grab your ticket for the event that she shared with us, which includes raffles. She is a guest speaker with 2 other speakers, vendors, and so much more. So Faces Pop-Up Shop will provide a space for local creatives and business owners to simply be themselves, network, create a vibe, and have fun. The point of the event is to specifically cater to our community, the hard work and unwavering drive to serve as the faces of our community. So come out, showcase your creativity. You can market yourself, your brand, and your business, establish new connections. Just like Antoinette says, she's a connector. I'm a connector. Y'all can be connectors, but we can support other thriving businesses and business owners. That is this Saturday, January the 15th, 2022, from 2 to 6 p.m. Of course, that is Eastern Standard Time, and is located at the Starstruck Sports Center in Temple Hills, Maryland. And before we call it a wrap, you know we have to bless you with today's Unstuck questions and gems that were shared. Number 1, we set the trends. Number 2, in Antoinette deciding to do things her way, she paved the way for many others to do the same, and that includes you. Number 3, all it takes is just one thing in common with anyone to see yourself differently. Build your confidence and connection to allow you to do and be more. Number 4, never disassociate yourself from a space that you want to be in. And number 5, be a connector. It could literally save someone else's life or mindset. Number 6, healing is not linear. And number 7, sometimes it takes getting activated or triggered again to see your new response. Trust the process, peeps. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share, to rate. Leave a review of this podcast to boost and highlight the work we all have put into this to raise the energy of others and build a safe space to grow and honor our voices and stories. So I'm sending you love and light through this mic as you write your unstuck questions and gems to turn your actions into wins. Stay unstuck.